Jerry Jones, the owner of the
That's
Dallas
some salt.
Cowboys. All right.
Don't forget about the salt.
Jerry Jones was talking about the situation involving his starting quarterback, Dak Prescott. And, here's where it stands on the contract negotiation with Dak.
Well, again, we're just continuing to talk, and the thing is there that since we're really in season, we're practicing, we're doing all those things, operating under his existing contract, which is really good. You know, one of the things that I would like for our fans to really understand is that and 9 times out of 10, these are existing contracts that you have in place. And you should be able to operate under those. But we've gotten it now in the NFL. Other teams are dealing with it to where with time on the contract, you still might have a contract discussion. And that's what we're doing. But none of us, player or teams, want it to hurt the preparation or the likelihood of playing at your best opening day.
So just a whole lot of nothing there.
Well, I think there's substance to what he's saying. I think he's absolutely correct in what he's saying. Why can't you operate under the parameters of the contract that was signed by both the player and the franchise? See, to me, I always felt like, and maybe I'm wrong, but I always felt like when you say a rookie is holding out to get a contract, that's not a holdout because they don't have a job yet. They don't have a contract in play. You're not holding out.
They haven't agreed upon terms.
Right? You're not holding out. But when you have a contract in play, that says to you, the player, the employee, and you, the employer that's paying it, y'all both agreed to it. Here are the set of what is it called? Terms that we have. Here's the compensation. Here's everything that goes with it. And you feel good about it. Are you good with it? I'm good with it. Are you good with it? I'm good with it. And you signed it. There's something to what Jerry Jones just said. I don't think it's a whole lot of nothing at all. If I'm trying to get a contract extension or a bigger contract, a larger contract, and I still have a year or 2 years left on the contract that I have, it's up to you to decide how you want to handle that. But I personally, if I'm going to push it to the limit, but I'm going to push it to the limit based off of the understanding that my parameters are, I signed the contract. Like, why do I go back in year 4 or the last year of my contract and say, I outdid this, I outplayed this contract, I outdid this contract? Then you should have had it in your contract that says, if I outplay my contract voids and we have to redo my contract. Negotiate your contract. That's, to me, I don't have a problem with what Jerry Jones is saying. But I will say this. It don't sound like he's about to give out no contracts.
No, it doesn't.
That's what it sounds like.
Let me ask you this, though. How do you then look at it when a team comes to a player and ask them to take a pay cut?
I think it's the same thing, right? I think it comes down – because I've done that. I've done restructuring. In fact, I got boned the worst in the world by doing a contract restructuring prematurely.
Damn.
Yeah. But in the end, my whole thing is you have decisions you have to make. Sure. If you want to do a restructuring of your contract, now I did the restructuring to help our team out, but I helped myself out. I got more guaranteed money up front. And so my backloaded, dollars, whatever, was adjusted, and I got more money up front. You can make the decision to change your contract if the organization comes to you. But I would say this, are you looking at the organization like, okay, if I don't restructure, like, where do we go from here? Or am I allowed to play? Am I not allowed to play? Like, what happens if I don't restructure? It's almost like, okay, if a player says that I'm not playing, or if you don't restructure or redo my contract, I'm not coming, I'm not playing, I'm not practicing, I'm not doing anything until we get a contract done. It's like, what if the organization decided to do that to you if they needed you or asked you or wanted you to restructure your contract for the sake of the cap? I mean, I feel like it could go both ways. Like, operate under the contract.
Well, there's two differences in that and what you just asked.
Go ahead.
If you're restructuring for the cap, for cap purposes and you're getting more guarantees and stuff up front, that means they're going to keep you. I'm saying I've seen teams ask guys to take a pay cut.
Period.
Yeah.
Well,
that's different.
Yeah,
right?
that's different
because we see how that works. Yeah. So the difficulty with the CeeDee Lamb, and look, every situation and circumstance is different, right? Dak's situation and circumstance is different than Micah's, is different than CeeDee's. Okay, so Dak is in a position of leverage and power, right? So they don't really have really much to go off of other than if this season doesn't go well, they then have to make the decision of, have we reached our ceiling with Dak because we can't franchise tag him? He's going into this final year. He may want to test the free agent waters, and that number could be astronomical even off of a bad year given his track record and what he's accomplished so far in the NFL. There will be a market for him. So they have to make a decision off that. Now, if he does play extremely well, he again can still go to the free agent market. There's nothing Dallas can do about it, and that number would be astronomical. So it would be in Dak's interest to press through this year unless they just give him an offer he can't refuse, and he wants to stay in Dallas because it is Dallas. It is the most valued franchise, and he would continue on. CeeDee's circumstance is entirely different, and it's one of the reasons why when we talk about going to an 18th game, you've heard a lot of talk about the NFLPA trying to reduce the amount of years on these rookie deals. And they want to reduce the control that a team can have on a player where CeeDee Lamb's going into his 5th year, right? This is his rookie contract. So when you talk about agreeing to a contract, he's agreed to it. And unfortunately, there's really not much they can negotiate, right? You can negotiate two things when you come in as a rookie. You can negotiate your offset language and the timing of your signing bonus. That is essentially it. Now, a guy like Caleb Williams has tried to negotiate being paid through an LLC and all these other things to avoid
equity stake.
Equity stake, sure. And none of that's even been taken seriously, and it won't be. And unfortunately, too, from a tax perspective, that's why he's trying to reduce his taxable, or increase his non-tax income. But anyway, the point is, those are the only two things you can negotiate. So the frustration for a player that last year led the league in receptions, last year was second in the league in yards, has done everything that I think you would ask of would say of CeeDee Lamb as a rookie, and then coming through the first 4 years of his career, he's been everything you'd hoped he'd be. And so to be going into this 5th year with still the potential of a franchise tag in another 2 years, he's saying, like, come on, man, like, commit to me. Commit to me as being your guy. And this number is going to be really high, but that's the cost of doing business. And so that's, I think, the frustration is other teams, and we talk about Philly all the time because I think they do it as good as anyone, and they're in the division. This deal would have been done by now because they know the longer they wait, the more expensive it gets. They know that. And for whatever reason, Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, 2 out of the last 3 years, have been one of the cheaper organizations in regards to their cash outlay.
They have.
I mean, they're not paying. They were dead last year as far as paying guys in cash. And I don't know if they're preparing for something. I don't know. I mean, we obviously can't see their books, so we don't know from a business standpoint if something else is going on. I don't know those the answers to those questions. But the one thing we do know is, they are trying their best to kind of keep this together, but really forcing guys to play out and making it an unhappy scenario. And then Micah's situation is more of a precedent-setting deal. They unfortunately made the decision to extend Zeke before they should have, and that now has led to a guy like Micah who, very similar to Zeke, when Zeke came in, did everything you'd want him to do. And Micah's done everything you wanted him to do so far. And now because you did it with Zeke, he's saying, well, you did it with Zeke, now you got to do it with me. And this is what I should be compensated and being paid. And there's no argument there to be made for me with any of these guys, as far as against what they deserve to be paid. It's just the resistance from the Cowboys wanting to pay out the cash they need to pay to make it work underneath the cap. That's the biggest conundrum right now.
Yeah, it is.
I think for this team,
it is a conundrum, and I get everything that you're saying, and it makes perfectly great sense. But still, at the end of the day, you signed a contract. You didn't have to. Let's be clear. You didn't have to sign to be a rookie in the National Football League. You could have chose a different profession. You could have went in a different direction. You chose to play. You chose to sign the contract. Whether you have the ability to right to negotiate it or not, been there. I get it. Like, you outplayed it. Your statistical line, like Mike, is like in rare air. CeeDee Lamb has done amazing work. I get it. And I buy into it. I subscribe to it. All I'm saying is what Jerry Jones said is not inaccurate. That's all I'm saying. It's not inaccurate. Now, where you go from there, how you treat it, understanding the value of what that would look like if he hits if Dak hits the open market, whatever it is that you're going to do with CeeDee Lamb if you don't redo his contract, whatever it is they may be or may not be preparing for. Listen, the bottom line is that if we were to have this conversation in other categories of the job industry, it would be laughable. They would laugh you out of the office. But for some strange reason, the culture behind what takes place in professional sports is to put people's financials on blast.
I actually disagree with that right now.
Go ahead.
And the only reason I'll say that is if you look at today's job market, and there's probably a lot of people listening right now who know this too, is there's never been a time where so many people who are under contract working somewhere are looking for other jobs, other opportunities, other sweeteners, and are looking for somewhere else to jump ship to. Like, this actually happens much more frequently in the business world.
Explain that again. I didn't catch that. What? Say that
so
again.
There's people who are right now working for companies that are looking for a better job elsewhere.
Of course.
They're jumping ship elsewhere. I mean, and they're going to their boss saying, this is what I'm offered elsewhere. Either match this, increase it, or I'm out. And that's happening more frequently than ever before in history, in part because of remote work and how there's not a lot, not as many people, they're in a hybrid work schedule, they're able to work completely remote. And so now more than ever, you've gotten people who it's gotten way more competitive. And you're seeing actually this play itself out in the business world where companies are having a hard time hanging on to talent when they're really, really good at their job, like a CeeDee Lamb at their position, at their job. There's no I'm telling you exactly what it is.
I get what there's always an and the idea of it is I get that too. I do. Like, somebody gets taken from Under Armour, they get pulled away to Nike, like, because you did X, Y, and Z. I get that. Like, corporately speaking, yeah, sure. I don't see teachers doing that. I don't see teachers doing that.
Leaving for a better job elsewhere?
No, I mean you could go to like a private school. It does happen all the time, but it's
go
not,
to a better
It's
district.
not
go to a district that pays you more,
but it's not under these circumstances. Like, I think that's apples and oranges. I think it's comparing apples and oranges. I really do.
I actually think the crazier part is where and look, I'm not trying to make a case for like us to feel bad for professional athletes because they become millionaires upon being drafted in the first round or whatever. I'm not making that case, but they don't have much choice. The team picks them. So there is that element of it too that, like, even coming out of college,
I could have chose my team. I know.
Well, and I think there's an element of, like, if you could have chosen your team, think about how different the negotiations would have went, how maybe your career would have went, how all of that. And again, I'm not even saying this based on like my history or my experience. I am just saying.
But you could.
No, if you compare it to everyone else who leaves college or joins the workforce, they get the pick, not only from different potential careers, but also different potential companies. Like in the NFL, it's like they pick you. It's the only time where it's like that. And at any point in time of a football player's career, think about it. High school, you can go pick to go play if you want to go to private school or if you want to stay where you're at, right?
But their information isn't on blast. Their information isn't on blast like that. You're right, they get to choose, but you're not sitting there and it's like, okay, I would like to have more money because I feel like I'm outperforming it. No, now it's being written about in the local newspaper or being reported on the local channel of news that's saying, hey, look, Jonas Knox went to the top and told Don and Scott, I need to have a bigger contract.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens when guys leave different places.
It happened last week. I'll tell you that.
Colin Cowherd didn't. Colin Cowherd hasn't worked at Fox forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
With me.
Yeah.
I knock on doors, they open.
That don't play out in the public. You're talking maybe 1, 2,
but
maybe
that's what
here
we're
and there.
talking about. We're not talking about an average player. We're talking about one of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
You make a good point. You make a good argument, but I don't.
But
think
think,
the culture
think about
of it,
that though.
I don't think
like,
it's not
like for
conducive.
a football player. Like then you get to pick your college. Then it's like until free agency, you don't get to pick again. It's the oddest thing if you really take that into account.
It is, but that's what it is. It's the reality of what it is, and then they shame you by putting it in the public forums. Like, this is how much he makes. Why should he have a problem? Yeah. Why should he want a new contract before it's time to get a new contract?
I think most people are probably siding with CeeDee Lamb. I don't think there's people who are like, no, Jerry Jones, I feel bad for him. Like, I think most people probably side with CeeDee Lamb in this dispute.
I just don't think it makes him wrong. He's not wrong for what he's saying. That's all I'm saying. Whether you side with him or you side with CeeDee Lamb, what he's saying isn't incorrect. That's all I'm saying.
The good thing is whatever he said this week, it could change next week.
Damn right.
It could.
You damn right.
It might have to change. It should have to change because it don't look like CeeDee Lamb is coming back. I mean, we're talking about Dak Prescott, and Dak is already there, and he's going to play. I mean, looks like he's going to play. I mean, but if I'm CeeDee Lamb,
so much money, man.
I'm not so sure this is going to play out.
Money.
I'm not sure this is going to play out the way people are thinking it's going to play out with CeeDee Lamb. I think it gets done, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure because he wants Justin Jefferson money. They're not going to give it to him.
Today's the last day for third preseason game, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This weekend.
So really, I would say in the next week plus, these deals get done if they get done. I can't imagine they'll drag on in the season.
It better.